The cart rolled slowly through the alley, its iron wheels scraping stone. A man in a rough coat rang a handbell and called out the words every Londoner dreaded, "Bring out your dead." A door opened, and a pale figure carried a bundle wrapped in a stained sheet. The driver heaved it onto the pile already stacked in the cart, the smell thick enough to turn the stomach. The bell rang again, and the cart moved on, leaving behind silence broken only by the muffled sobbing of neighbors who prayed their house would not be next. It was London, 1665, and the plague was devouring the city. It began quietly that spring. In the parish of St. Giles in the Fields, outside the city walls, a tailor's household sickened and died. Officials tried to minimize the danger, but fear already spread faster than the news. The conditions were perfect for catastrophe. London was overcrowded, filthy, and riddled with vermin. Narrow lanes twisted between timber houses stacked high, refuse dumped into gutters where pigs and dogs rooted, and stagnant ditches ran open through neighborhoods. Rats thrived in the filth, their fleas carrying the invisible enemy. Though no one yet understood germs, they knew the sickness had returned. The symptoms came suddenly. A man felt feverish, weak, his head pounding. Within hours, his body shivered with chills and sweat. Then the swellings appeared, dark lumps rising in the armpits, neck, or groin, each one hard and hot, throbbing with agony. These buboes turned black, stinking as they festered. Red blotches spread across the skin. Some victims vomited until they collapsed. Few lived beyond a few days. Families locked themselves inside, whispering prayers, listening for the cough or groan that meant their turn had come. Authorities imposed harsh measures. Searchers, hired to identify plague victims, marked infected homes. A red cross was painted on the door with the words, "Lord, have mercy upon us." Then the house was nailed shut. Watchmen stood guard outside to ensure no one escaped. For 40 days, families were sealed inside with the sick. Food passed through cracks if it came at all. Neighbors heard cries from within, but the law was merciless. Some households starved, others suffocated in the summer heat. Quarantine became another form of death. By June, death counts climbed in the bills of mortality, the weekly reports printed and distributed across the city. 6,000 gone in 1 month. By July, more than 17,000. In August, the city collapsed under the weight of 30,000 more. At the peak, nearly 8,000 died in a single week. Whole streets stood silent. Grass sprouted in abandoned courtyards. Doors with red crosses multiplied until entire parishes looked branded by fate. Burials overwhelmed the city, churchyards filled, and priests could not keep pace with the dead. So trenches were dug, plague pits, wide and deep beyond the walls. At night, carts emptied their loads, bodies tumbling into heaps, while laborers tossed quicklime to eat away the flesh. Torches smoked against the sky as gravediggers worked until exhaustion bent them double. Some pits swallowed hundreds of corpses before they were covered over. The ground itself seemed to groan under the weight of what lay beneath. The wealthy had already fled. King Charles II and his court abandoned London for Oxford. Nobles and merchants locked their townhouses and vanished to estates. Parliament dispersed. London was left to the poor, apprentices, sailors' widows, and servants with nowhere else to go. With trade paralyzed, food prices soared. Bakers and brewers shut their shops. Fishmongers and butchers vanished from markets. Coal barges sat idle on the Thames. In many parishes, the only sound was the bell of the death cart. Physicians appeared in their strange uniforms. Long black coats, wide-brimmed hats, and beaked masks stuffed with herbs, vinegar-soaked cloth, and spices meant to purify the air. Children screamed at the sight of them. Families clung to their remedies, smoking tobacco, burning pitch, swallowing potions of mercury, pressing live frogs to the buboes, bleeding and purging. Nothing worked. Charlatans sold charms and amulets, feeding on desperation. Cats and dogs were slaughtered in thousands, blamed for spreading plague, though it was the fleas that thrived unseen. Fear reshaped daily life. Taverns emptied, then filled with the reckless who drank as if each night were the last. Playhouses closed, their stages gathering dust. Churches held fasts and processions, with barefoot penitents pleading in the streets. Bonfires burned in alleys to cleanse the air, filling them with smoke. The smell of death hung everywhere. Some families barricaded themselves indoors with supplies, refusing to answer any knock. Others wandered half-mad, convinced the end of days had come. Samuel Pepys, the naval official whose diary survives, recorded it all. He wrote of friends dying within days, of silent streets where grass grew between cobbles, of the sick stumbling through markets before collapsing where they stood. He described the smell of lime and corpses, the look of fear on every face. He noted the habits of Londoners smoking pipes as they worked, believing smoke itself kept them safe. His words remain one of the most vivid testimonies of the plague. By autumn, the numbers began to fall. Cold weather slowed the fleas, and with so many already dead, the plague starved for hosts. By December, the worst had passed. Officially, 97,000 Londoners had died, but most agree the true number exceeded 100,000, nearly a quarter of the city's population. Children were left orphans, shops stood ownerless, families vanished from parish rolls overnight. The survivors carried scars deeper than the pits. Then came another blow. In September 1666, fire swept through London, burning 4/5 of the city to the ground. Some said it was divine wrath, others believed it was deliverance, the flames purging the filth and rats that had fed the plague. Whatever the truth, plague and fire became linked in memory, 2 years of calamity that remade the city. The Great Plague of 1665 was London's last major outbreak, but its lessons lingered. It revealed the weakness of public health, the cruelty of quarantine without relief, the danger of superstition over science. It showed how a city could collapse when fear ran faster than knowledge. Stand in London today, and the plague feels buried, yet beneath modern streets lie the pits where thousands rest. Construction workers still sometimes find bones stacked like cordwood, lime-white and silent. They are reminders that the capital of an empire once trembled before fleas and fever. The story of 1665 is not only about disease, but about the ruin that comes when systems fail and the people have nowhere to turn. Thank you for listening to Road to Ruins. Subscribe for more true stories where systems fail and people pay the price.